Ves's face turned sour as his eyes skimmed his analytics page in Iron Spirit. Really? He demanded. What am I paying for here? I thought advertisements were supposed to attract customers. He only had 20 days left to complete the system's mission and sell 100 virtual mechs. So far, he had only managed to sell his handcrafted Fantasia-2R Seraphim. That meant the sales of his other mechs had suffered, and they hadn't received enough personal care and attention. Not only had their specs degraded, but he had been forced to double their already ludicrous price. When Ves visited the Seraphim store page, he encountered hundreds of disparaging comments. 8,800 gold XD? Are you missing some brain cells? If so, go ahead and buy this gold-plated turd. Can anyone lend me 8,700 gold? I promise to pay you back once I dominate the arena. No one can withstand my secret weapon, crapping rainbows. Don't buy this mech. This is an over-engineered piece of shit, made from some extra parts that were thrown together. Just buy a real flying mech instead. With comments like those splashed across his store, it wasn't hard to see why he hadn't made any more sales. Ves had learned a valuable but expensive lesson from the experience. I lost sight of my target audience. I thought I could just slap a lot of components together without any consequences. But the Bronze Leaguers are mostly just young kids who don't have the gold or the credits to spare. One-star mechs were often used like tricycles in the game, because they were effectively a training tool. Most potentates didn't bother to forge an emotional connection to the mechs they piloted, and usually expected them to be horribly outdated. The Bronze Leaguers were far more interested in achieving the best level of performance at the lowest possible price. Ves was pleased that he hadn't spent the rest of his time focusing on the wrong thing. Aside from stuffing Lucky with ores, he had also extensively reworked the Fantasia-2R into a new variant. It had been his most profitable project to date, and it had pushed all his new skills to the limit, especially the light armor optimization subskill. The new Fantasia variant sported complete matte gray armor plating. Ves had painstakingly removed its original armor plating and replaced it with the newer and more efficient Mirren 21 ultralight armor plating. To retain and even improve the mech's durability, he needed to recalculate every plate's profile and thickness, bulking up the mech in many areas. Despite the increase in armor, the mech still enjoyed a considerable weight reduction, making it faster and nimbler on the ground. Ves was highly satisfied with his work so far. He appreciated the miraculous powers of the system, which had allowed him to adjust to many amazing procedures in a matter of days instead of months. Prompted by his good mood and productivity, he even added the Fayette ECM and the festive cloud generator to the custom mech's head. In keeping with his ghost theme, he had set the clouds to generate only gray colors, and nicknamed the mech the Phantasm. Design evaluation: Fantasia-2R Phantasm. Variant name: Fantasia-2R Phantasm. Base model: Fantasia-2R. Original manufacturer: Kazaya Armaments. Weight classification: light. Recommended role: Scout, Ambusher. Armor: C-. Carrying capacity: F+. Aesthetics: B+. Endurance: D+. Energy efficiency: D. Flexibility: C. Firepower: D-. Integrity: C. Mobility: B+. Spotting: B. X-Factor: none. Deviance: 8%. Performance improvement: 11%. Overall evaluation: you have received 50 design points for completing an original design with a performance improvement of over 10%. You have been awarded a lottery ticket for achieving superior performance improvement with minimal deviance. Ves's eyes widened at the second message. The system had evaluated his custom work using the same standards as the industry. He supposed that it made sense. He had learned about the standard requirements during college, but had forgotten all about upholding them when he had become enamored with the system. Over-enthusiastic designers, who pumped a lot of resources into a mech and only achieved a minimal improvement percentage over the stock model, were generally regarded as trash. On the other hand, Designers who changed a few things here and there and still achieved an improvement of over 12% were regarded as masters in their field. Ves had gained the system's approval with the Phantasm's economical design. With 3 cheap components, he had partially re-engineered the old Fantasia 2R's frame into a stealthy predator. The Phantasm could do everything the stock model was capable of, but marginally better. The real star of the show was Ves's inspired armor switch. The Mirren 21 might offer less protection, but it also weighed significantly less. Padding the Fantasia with additional form-fitting plates offered better protection but still managed to achieve an overall weight reduction. Not every newly graduated mech designer could accomplish such an impressive feat. By cutting down redundant and inefficient sections, while making sure the spots remained somewhat covered, Ves had improved the armor exponentially. Now that he had another lottery ticket, like an eager kid with candy, Ves quickly switched to the lottery page and spun the metaphorical wheel. "Come on, give me something good," he cried. "Maybe a production license or a bag of credits." "You have received a strength candy. Strength candy. Increases strength by 0.1 upon consumption. Strawberry flavor." Ves fell to his knees and let out a frustrated scream. "Come on, system," he wailed. "I worked so hard the last few days. Why don't you throw me a bone or two?" He felt like a wizard who had decided to pump iron in the gym. Developing stamina was an unnecessary luxury that offered little help when it came to creating magic. Well, since I won it, I might as well use it. Once he had popped it into his mouth, he checked his status again. Status: name, Ves Larkinson. Profession: novice mech designer. Specializations: none. Design points: 113. Attributes: strength, 0.7. Dexterity, 0.7. Endurance, 0.6. Intelligence, 1.2. Creativity, 1. Concentration, 1. Neural aptitude, F. Skills: assembly, novice 3D printer proficiency 1. Business, apprentice. Computer science, incompetent. Mathematics, incompetent. Mechanics, apprentice, jury rigging 1, speed tuning 1. Metallurgy, apprentice. Physics, novice, lightweight armor optimization 1. Evaluation, should pursue a career in designing space shuttles. He hardly felt the increase in strength, but when he saw the other benefits the system had given him, he felt slightly happier. The system might not think highly of him now, but he knew that could change in the future. Once I complete 2 good designs, I'll have enough design points to buy a new subskill. During the course of the previous week, Ves had benefited from the subskills he had already bought. Even though they only offered the lowest tier of knowledge, they had vastly improved his existing competencies and sharpened his instincts. He was then left with the dilemma of whether to buy additional subskills or begin upgrading his existing ones. The first would widen his knowledge base, but the second would deepen his existing understanding. Neither of the choices was wrong, so Ves had a hard time deciding. The doorbell rang and interrupted his introspection. He wasn't expecting any visitors, nor had he ordered anything to be delivered. Curious, he activated the front door's camera. "Hey, Vessie, are you in? It's me, your cousin." "Melinda?" Ves exclaimed. He jogged over to the front of the workshop and greeted her with a hug. "Long time no see." "No thanks to you, little Vessie," Melinda smiled as she ruffled her younger cousin's hair. "I see you've changed your digs. It looks very... small. I know, it doesn't look impressive, but I'm stuck with it, so I might as well make it my home." The two entered the workshop's small living apartment and sat down on a beaten-up sofa. Lucky, who had been napping in the middle, meowed with indignation when he was pushed to the side. "Oh, it's so cute," Melinda gushed as she picked up the cat. "What's its name?" "I call him Lucky. I'm counting on him to turn my life around." He sighed. "I know you didn't come here because you missed me. Tell me what the family wants." The Larkinsons had been an established family of mech pilots for at least 200 years. Though they lacked the wealth and a deep foundation within the circle of power, they had managed to firmly root themselves in the military. along with dozens of other families. They constituted the Bright Republic's unofficial military aristocracy. Grandpa's been busy at headquarters, so he couldn't spare much time searching for your dad or finding out what happened. With his resources, the only thing he's managed to figure out is that it wasn't related to the Mech core. The topic of Ves's missing father lowered his mood. He clenched his fist. I don't know where Dad ended up, but I'm sure he's still alive. We all hope so, Vessie. But life has to go on. We can't put our lives on pause. Your aunts and uncles are quite worried about the debt your dad accrued in order to afford all of this. It's too extravagant. They think you're still 20 years too young to take up the responsibility of running your own mech business. So they disapprove, huh? They only want what's best for you, Melinda replied. She put a comforting hand on his shoulder. You can still turn things around and relinquish the assets to the bank. With your qualifications, my dad can fast-track you into the Mech Corps as a technician. You'll be able to get loads of hands-on experience repairing and modifying next-generation military mechs. Your job prospects will improve a lot once you've got a couple of tours of service under your belt. Ves shook his head. It sounds safe, but it's too slow for me. I want to make a name for myself as a mech designer, not a technician or repairman. Most star designers start their careers young. That doesn't mean you have to follow their footsteps. Without a formidable background like wealth or connections, you don't have the qualifications to enter a cutthroat business like selling mechs. He wanted to tell her that she was wrong. He had a background advantage. His father's mech designer system provided him with a lot of help. He could use it to help find his footing in the business. But he couldn't mention that to his cousin. The system was strange and unique, and Ves might even lose his life if others found out about it and tried to rob him of his advantage. Melinda, I understand where you're coming from, but I chose to shoulder the risks. This is my father's legacy. After all, he gave up his home, his savings, and even his personal mech to scrounge up the loans to fund this little workshop. At worst, I'll just be declared bankrupt and the assets will get taken away a little later. It's not shameful for an entrepreneur to suffer bankruptcy. At least I'll be content knowing I tried. His cousin sighed, but didn't press the argument further. I thought you'd chosen to do that. I guess the only thing I can tell the family is that you've made up your mind. Grandpa also told me that if you decided to stick with it, he'll lean on the bank to make sure they don't pull any dirty tricks. Thanks. It helps a lot if I don't have to worry about the bank changing its terms. I'm confident. I can work this out on my own. I already have some plans in the works. Oh? Can you show me some of the work? Ves took her to the working area of the shop. He activated the terminal and logged into his Iron Spirit designer account. I've been trying to make a name for myself as a designer in the game. I've made a deal with, well, I can't say who. I only need to sell enough virtual mechs to receive some additional startup resources for my real business. Let me show you my 2 latest designs. The Seraphim awed his cousin with its graceful appearance. She grinned and pinched Ves's cheeks. So, you started to fiddle with the Fantasia, huh? Do you need me to introduce you to some ladies I know? I'm not a kid anymore. So, other than its gender, tell me what you think about my mech. Well, the Seraphim showcases your fundamentals. I'm actually really impressed by how decently you've incorporated all of the components. While I'm not too familiar with the Fantasia chassis anymore, I'm sure it performs decently in the air. It's just... Yeah, I know. It costs a fortune for a 1-star light mech. At least your Phantasm looks impressive, she offered, as she browsed through the spec sheet. I'm not a technician, but even I can see you've worked hard reworking its armor. This is really solid work. If I was still in bronze, I'd definitely give it a spin. What's your current league? I've been in platinum for a while. I can break into diamond if I work hard enough. Jeez. Reaching diamond rank at her age was an impressive feat. Only those who were either naturally gifted or nurtured aristocratic elites could boast such an accomplishment. Sometimes, Ves felt that the mech piloting talent he so desperately wanted had been unfairly given to Melinda. The universe wasn't fair sometimes. Melinda noticed his expression and flicked his forehead. Hey, no need for those thoughts. You might not have inherited all your father's genes, but you definitely have his heart. Besides, Iron Spirit is just a game. Many of my colleagues at the Benthian Planetary Guard don't even take it seriously. When you make a living piloting and fighting with the real thing, a game just feels too fake. Ves nodded in agreement. I know. Designing mechs in Iron Spirit is just a springboard for my real universe business. If I manage to achieve enough sales, I can hopefully receive a grant of some kind. I'll be sure to recommend your models to the Munchkins back home, Melinda promised. She smiled when she thought about her little nieces and nephews. The Larkinsons weren't exactly unified like the truly aristocratic families, but they kept in touch, even when they were spread out over many planets in the Republic. The younger generation often met up and played together, if not in person, then at least in Iron Spirit. Ves had often been left out of many circles, due to his incapability to pilot a mech. It had distanced him slightly from many of his peers. Melinda was one of the few who had always maintained a proactive friendship with him. It was times like these, when he faced difficulties, that he truly realized how much his family meant to him. He felt a warm feeling envelop his heart, and he gave his cousin another hug.